all the different faiths that are part of the Interfaith Contact Group thought the Tree of Life was such a wonderful idea. The spirit of the tree has given us this rich, beautiful heritage which is woven into the very fabric of the many, many faiths and many beliefs and many cultures. We're aware of the history of trees in faiths, but somehow this year the arrival of the Extinction Rebellion and the environmental argument has suddenly become part of that religious thinking. It's as if everything is beginning to marry up, that the importance of trees in faith and in life is something that is coming to our consciousness in a way. And it's really, really important that we understand what our Indigenous trees are and value them and love them.
You may not always know why or how or which way you feel better, but often just spending time in nature, it just makes you feel better. And I don't think actually you always need to know why. I think there's this big thing in our human mindset that we've always got to know the reason behind everything and work out the science behind stuff. But when you look at the research, people who spend more time in nature and cities that have more green spaces have a lot more mentally balanced people and morally balanced people, and there is direct correlations, and that is fact.
Lots of people will say they love trees and they don't exactly know why. I think it goes back a very, very long way because we've relied on them for shelter, for heat, for food, to build our homes. We're very closely connected, and trees are a little bit like us. They are designed to live in a community alongside other trees and shrubs. We've only relatively recently learned about the World Wide Wood Web, which is an underground network of hyphae that interconnect trees. They actually have a physical connection through their tree root system, and through these fungal bodies they actually make an interconnection and exchange nutrients. They'll actually exchange information about insect predators that may be coming their way. The trees themselves also don't just support their own species. The beech trees don't just look after beech trees and the sycamores look after sycamores. They exchange these nutrients across species. So they're all helping each other out. They're all interconnected and supporting each other.
Trees are actually quite special in Brighton and Hove, and the Tree of Life struck us as being a very relevant theme in these days where we're all very concerned about the environment, and one that will resonate with all kinds of different people, people of all ages, people of different faith backgrounds. We started off with an event for community groups who we knew had a positive wish to link in with the faith groups. And these were all groups doing really good work in the community, supporting quite vulnerable people. So, for example, we had a group working with refugees and asylum seekers, another group working with LGBTQ people, and other groups working with victims of domestic violence. They actually wanted to link in more closely with the faith groups to help them in their work.
We have a very diverse client group, from the recent refugees from Syria, from other Arabic countries, but also from Africa and Eastern Europe. All walks of life, all religions, all backgrounds, all genders. A lot of our people, a lot of our clients were living in wealth, and then war happened or other things happened, and they became poor, or they had to run and run for their lives and come here and start all over again. So I think the various religious backgrounds, the people from all faiths, we understand that it's very important that we support everyone, and especially those in need.
So I'm Councillor Amanda Grimshaw. I'm the lead for Equalities in Brighton and Hove City Council. I'm a ward councillor for Morecambe and Bevendine. Newly elected, so I've only been in the job since May. I'm one of those people that I'm a real community activist, so this is now my job to be doing the things that I like to do, which is helping people and supporting people, and obviously coming to wonderful events like today, which is just amazing, and I feel really lucky to have had the chance to come and experience it, and also to meet these wonderful projects that are out supporting people in the city. So it's an amazing day, and I'm really pleased to be invited.
You lie, 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 you lie.
How good it is and how pleasant when people dwell together in unity. Let us say Amen. Amen.
We have large numbers of new officers and new police community support officers coming to work with us now, and it's really important for them to understand how to communicate with all different types of members of the community in all different communities, and anything that I can do to give them some suggestions about how they may do that will always be helpful. And I think the representation and the discussion around the terrorist atrocities against all faiths is particularly poignant, and that symbolism of the tree of life comes across very clear within all faiths.
The old oak stands strong.
Extinction Rebellion is all sorts of people from all walks of life, so you can be religious, you don't have to be religious, you can be any age, but I think most people really appreciate the earth, they really grieve for the earth and love it at the same time. Trees are our answers. They take the carbon dioxide and they produce our oxygen for us. So tree of life is so relevant, not just on a spiritual level, but on a scientific, factual level. Trees are life.
The old oak stands strong.
This piece of woodland's being thinned out by around about 30%, and this would be considered fairly normal levels of thinning for woodland at this sort of age. There is ash dieback in among the woodlands, so they are favouring to take out a higher proportion of ash rather than other species. This is normal good forestry practice.
Years ago, a lot of these forests were planted up with something in mind, like the shipbuilding and the oaks, and now we don't have that sort of industry. They still need to be managed for the wildlife, and also very low impact with us doing it with the horses.
The horses are extracting the timber just up to ride side, so they're taking it from the stump to the ride side or the forest track, and that would normally be collected by a forwarder, which would forward it out from the woodland out to the roadside, where then a big articulated lorry comes up with a grab and loads it from there.
Well, we have a rescue dog called Harry, and Harry and I and the rest of the family regularly go to the top of Stanmer Woods. So many of those trees have been there for an awfully long time, and that to me is incredibly grounding. Also, it's almost impossible to overstate the importance of trees to our environment and to ensuring that we have a livable planet, quite honestly. And there's a limit to how politics can do that. So I'm passionate about making sure that our young people really know and love their natural environment. And I do worry that with our school curriculum getting ever narrower, that opportunity to be out into the open, out into whatever the natural environment is, whether that's a city park or whether it is the South Downs here in Brighton, that the ability to really feel comfortable and knowledgeable about your surroundings, I think really matters. And so I've been working with a wonderful woman, Mary Colwell, to try to introduce a new GCSE in natural history. And what that would be about really would be recognising that, in the wonderful words of the US writer Richard Louv, we won't protect what we don't love and we won't love what we don't know. And so that opportunity for young people to go out there and get to know and love their natural environment feels absolutely vital for our environmental future, but also for their well-being as well.
This year we're going to celebrate the Tree of Life. And the Tree of Life reminds us of the beauty of a community, the beauty of diversity, particularly in our most wonderful city.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
The thing I love about the Interfaith service is that I think it sums up what's best about Brighton and Hove. And I think it was just really interesting to see how all the different faiths really, have such a special connection to trees. This is not some modern phenomenon. It goes back centuries and is really embedded in all of the religions. And for me, what's so special about it is I suppose that it just demonstrates that, as we know today from an environmental point of view, trees are vital to our survival in a very literal sense. But what this service kind of highlighted too was how vital they are to us in a spiritual sense as well.
Her roots grow deep, her strength's above. She gives us life, she gives us love.
Well, for me personally, I believe that actually humanity has to save itself. We can't rest on a sort of spiritual being. But what was interesting for me in his service today is that is very well respected and represented in the service as well.
Let the trees be consulted before you take any action. Every time you breathe, thank a tree.
Where I live, in Lansdowne Place, there was a community effort about a decade ago to actually plant trees. We got out there on our hands and knees ourselves and helped plant them. And together have helped weed the plants over the years. So that every time I see these trees, which are now fairly mature trees, I very, very often think, well, physically, I have roots in the community because those trees I was a small part in making happen in the first place.
Whether we prefer to think in terms of wisdom or teaching, or imagine the tree of life in another way, let us take up the invitation to grasp it with both hands and to plant trees for the sake of the earth and all the forms of life that inhabit this planet with us, our only home.
The Tree of Life is common to all faiths, and the reason for this is that it precedes all the current faiths. In the pagan religions, and even in the Roman and obviously the Greek religions, it was very important. And you can see this in the construction of things like Greek temples and Roman temples, and it's echoed through their architecture. In fact, cathedrals, if you look at the pillars and the way they're constructed, you can see how much and how important trees are as an intrinsic part of a memory of something that is in the past. Religion can be about looking backwards, but environmental awareness is looking forwards. And so we're beginning to realise that trees are part of our history, but they're more than that. They're part of our future. And so thinking about trees and talking about trees and saying trees are part of all these different faiths is actually telling us about the past and the present and the future.